Hey, how are you? I have some spring farmhouse DIY decor items I made today. Just a little bit of carrots, a little bit of Easter mixed in before our next Easter video, but I can't wait to share them. I'm Whitney with Crafty Thoughts and Whatnots, and thank you for joining me. So jumping into our first one, I wanted to make a little planter box here. So I got these two signs here from Dollar Tree. I believe I purchased, they're in their like little picture frame area, and then I'm going to use paint sticks, but I purchased this pack from Amazon. It's a 100 pack, which was a really good deal. 12-inch paint mixing paddles, it says. I was looking for a better way of purchasing paint sticks that didn't have the handle or didn't have the, the price, not the pricing, what the pricing, the measurements on them. I didn't want that ruler side that you always have to find a way to hide. So these are actually pretty decent sized sticks. So what I want to do is start by cutting them in half. And the miter shears here did not work that well. So I just grabbed my scissors, but then those were a little bit harder than a popsicle stick. And what I like here is I like that it almost looks like kind of like a picket fence. They were uneven. So I'm using these shears here I got at the hardware store. Much sharper, heavier duty shears. And they're also sharpenable. You can sharpen them. So here's my idea. The bottom will be flat, and see how the top goes up and down. They're variated heights. I want that to look that way. I need them to be a little bit messy, like a very farmhouse distressed picket fence. So to get started with our base, I'm going to leave one of the signs with the base in, basically it becomes our bottom. So I'm taking that little extra word off. I'm going to sand that down, and we're leaving that one with the frame intact. Now this one, we're going to take the middle out. Couldn't figure out for the life of me how to get that booger out of there. I was going to try to just stab it in the middle. You saw me try to take the paint spackle knife there. Anyways, I had to bust it open on one corner, and I glued it back together. Everything's fine because this is basically the top part of our frame. Now I'm going to paint the bottom because I need it to look nice, just in case you pick it up and look at the bottom of it. It gives me peace of mind. I like to finish my projects to where they look like they've been purchased from off the shelf. I like things to look nice and neat and tidy, so I'm painting the bottom. Now, the construction on this was a little bit hard. My regular hot glue did not work on these sticks. So I'm showing you here, I have some new hot glue. It's considered woodworking hot glue. Here it is. I get it off of Amazon. It's Fixie hot glue gun sticks, woodworking multi-temp. They're 10-inch regular standard size glue sticks. Now these things are good for not just woodworking. This is you can see it's a different color. It's yellow, not like a normal glue. And I've used it for a couple other projects just for wood, but for this one, the frame itself is not wood. It's some sort of composite, like the bottom part's like a cardboard material, the actual sign's made out of, and the frame is plastic. So I'm using it to adhere our paint sticks to the frame itself. And it is a very strong glue. It's sticky. It's much stickier than a normal hot glue because most of us can have no fingerprints left. We've burnt ourselves beyond belief. I'm using the same paint sticks here. I've just cut two in half, and I'm using them on the insides as our supports because we're going to take the rest of the sticks that we cut. I did about 36 of them, and we're going to layer those around the outside. So this is shorter than what you want your outside picket fence design to be. Hopefully that makes sense. But it is a much stickier glue, and it gets a little bit tackier, and it sticks to your fingers a little bit more than regular glue. So this is what our frame looks like. So the bottom here is solid, and the top is just more of a frame. And now here, all of the pieces that we've already cut in half. Now, what I ended up doing was I ended up cutting them just a little bit shorter on one side. And I'm going to take here in my little pile, and I'm going to just start arranging them the way I need them to be. So I want it to go taller, shorter, taller, shorter. So obviously on the left here, that's the bottom of our piece, and the right would be our top. So if you can see here, I'm lining them up so that the tops on the right kind of have different variated heights. They're not all going to be short, high, short, low, high, low, high. They're all going to be just a little bit different. I just didn't want them to look too uniform should I mix them up and got a lot of the same height together. So a lot of this layering, I've stood it up on the table so that I could line up the bottoms because I want the bottoms to be straight, but it's giving me a very good picket fence vibe. I saw something like this, I believe it was on Glue La La channel. She's a very talented crafter. She did something on a larger scale with like a very beachy theme, very pretty. And I've seen a couple of these on Pinterest as well. So this is just my idea and my version of it. Now, when I got to the end, we obviously had a small gap, you saw. So I'm going to finish this end and tell you on each side it will work out. One of these you're going to need to cut. So I'm just sitting here. You can see, if you could hear, you would hear all the squeaky wheels turning, trying to figure out, okay, these aren't going to match up. Well, they're not going to match up on the very ends either. So what I'll do is I'll place as many as I can going on each side. So I have 2 sides going. And hopefully what I cut off on this side will fit perfectly on the space that I have on the other side. And it did, guys. It worked out. Something in the crafting world worked out. It wasn't something I had to troubleshoot. So here I just marked it, what was left over. I used just a regular cutter to score the paint stick a few times. And I didn't want to put it on the very end. I always put them in the middle. And then our end piece overlaps just enough so that when we put the next corner on, it works. Now this extra little sliver that I have here, it does fit in there perfectly. So I got to do a little bit of just a little bit more trimming, and then you'll see me use the finger sander to sand that off. I'm going to cut it to the same height as our end stick. So it kind of looks like an extension, maybe looks like it might be a little bit of a cracked board, like a little bit of weathered, pick your soap opera story and insert here for said stick. Pick it, stick, fence, post, whatever. This is just my idea of how I could get it to look not horrible. And so you're going to mirror the same thing on the opposite side. So I ended up having the perfect amount there. Now it was a little bit kind of off. It was a little bit crooked, but it was crooked in general. They're not perfect. That's why I think the end result turned out so well, guys, that it looked like it was meant to be this way, even though that's where sometimes if you go into it assuming that you're going to make mistakes, they'll end up being there and they'll end up looking great and it won't matter. So here, look, I filled the space just fine. And after we stain this and paint this, you're not going to know. So you do the same thing on both sides. There's our bottom. Chalk paint's dry. So then there's the piece here that came off of the end. And then here's the other end piece. We'll say that end goes from this one. And then on this end, I cut this paint stick and we placed it right here. So this side has a little bit bigger of a gap than the other. But I think it adds character and I like it. Nothing is supposed to be uniform and perfect, at least not in my craft room. It won't. It'll never work out that way unless I'm using a die cutter. And even then, I give you a guarantee, I can probably make that crooked somehow. I mean, I'll work at it, but I wanted to tell you. Also, I told you guys 36 sticks. It actually ended up being 30 of the half sticks that I used. So if you're counting around, and that includes the 2 that we cut in half, you only need 30 halves. So 30 halves means you only need total 15 paint sticks of this size stick to use with these particular Dollar Tree signs that I found. So if you should have the same signs and want to do that, then there's me writing you my little love note. Now we're going to take our antique Waverly wax and I'm going to apply a nice coat around the entire box. So I was just, in this instance, using my baby wipe to spread the stain around. So I'll use my brush to apply it. And then you see how the baby wipe, it takes the wax and it spreads it very well for you. Baby wipes have a lot of good, oils and lotions in them that basically also, in my opinion, probably condition the wood as well for what you're using. So I feel like I'm making my wax go longer because I'm getting the coverage I want. I'm getting the color I want. I don't want it to be very dark. Do you see how dark it is when you first put it on there? That's not what I'm going for. I like the wood grain to show up. I want it to be a little bit lighter. And I absolutely love the color of this Waverly Antique. I love the color of it. But that baby wipe went the whole route for this whole box. And then some. So I'm just kind of taking it and dry brushing the edges and giving it a little bit darker at the top. And again, it probably won't matter because we're going to end up whitewashing it or distressing it at the top. But also, I did the inside here just in case, should you ever change it. Now, what I had planned and what I ended up doing, you can't see inside this box to save anything. Trust me. So this is kind of just my own thinking if I should put something in here that you could see the inside, the top pieces of on the other side, maybe. So it's just kind of covering all the bases. So I just took what was left of the brush. So I'm really just mushing that brush on the back of that right now. That's really all that's left on the brush. And there's no need to take your baby wipe and smear that anymore because the brush is doing that for me. Trust me, I was really grinding those bristles into the back of that. But see, there you go. So the inside's got its own little coverage on, and then look how the wood grain shows up. I love it when the wood grain just has its own little day in the sun. Now we're going to cover all that up. So this is just some white chalk paint. It's a Folk Art brand. Cottage White's the name of it. Folk Art home decor chalk paint, and I'm putting a light dry brushing around it. I'm putting more emphasis on the top and bottom edges, but I'm kind of just going at it. I'm trying not to be so heavy-handed because I can get a little bit carried away with dry brushing. I know. If this is not your style, omit the dry brushing. I love it. This is my own personal taste that makes me happy. And I love doing this to things. I'm also going in different directions, kind of making almost like I wanted to have like a basket weave look, but then what it ended up looking like is just beautifully farmhouse, just beautifully distressed. Makes me happy. And like I said, I'll probably be doing this, guys, until it's way out of style. It probably already is out of style. I don't know. But so many of you love farmhouse as much as I do, so I know I'm not alone. Then I took my finger sander and just did a little light sanding around the edges. Just some of them still had rough edges. And I just kind of want to smooth out anything that might still be causing problems. Now, again, with the rest of my brush, I took a little bit of white paint and distressed on the inside just in case that's seen. And then I got paint on the bottom, so I said, why not just farmhouseify the whole thing? Because why not make it match? So here you go. The whole thing has been dry brushed. So you still see the wood grain. You still see the color. You know, the antique wax comes through. She still shines in the way I wanted her to. So I'm still a happy camper. And I like how it turns out. Now, you can do as you want with going forward. I am going to place this black burlap around the outside. I got this particular roll at Hobby Lobby. This is a 6-inch wide burlap, and Hobby Lobby sells them year round. They've got black, yellow, red, blue. I've got every color. I'm not sure. Orange. And, you know, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut it thinner so that it matches more. You saw me pull up that chicken wire ribbon real quick because I wanted to make sure it fit well. I'm taking strands off of this here just to kind of fray it just a little bit because I want that to show. So, and now I'm going to cut off the other end on the other side to get a couple frayed edges off of that too, to make it look nice and rusticy, farmhousey, all those good words insert here. So now I've got a nice piece. I'm going to find the middle and wrap it around, make sure I got a good idea. We're going to do a little pinch method. I did this in a video just a couple videos back around a box. Here is a close-up of the tag from Hobby Lobby. It was $3.99. Get it in the floral department, and I believe they still have it. I've gotten a couple rolls there. So it is literally just chicken wire ribbon. It is chicken wire. You will cut yourself, so be careful. And it's just a metal chicken wire ribbon, and I love it. So what I'm going to do is take some of these strands that we got off of the burlap when we were fraying it. Now I'm pinching these both in the middle, and I'm just going to wrap that strand around the middle and a few times to make it look like it's already the center of a bow without actually making a bow. Then once I get it wrapped around enough, I'm going to tie a knot in the back, and then everything's said and done there. I'm going to use that knot that we've tied, and I'm going to glue the gathered part right here in the middle because this is now the front of my planter box. This is what I want the focus to be. Now, same thing I did before in my previous video. We're going to start just to apply the glue. I'm pushing the tip of the glue gun against the wood or against the box very close to get just a nice thin, even like coating. It's not going to be a thick globs of hot glue because it's going to come through the burlap, and then it's definitely going to come through the chicken wire because that stuff is obviously got big old holes in it, you can see. So I'm gluing down one side, and then on the second side that I'm bringing over top, I'm kind of putting a hem in it, or I'm putting a nice little edge in it and then gluing that down as well. So I got to pull some of the glue pieces out and just kind of adjusting here. Now you'll see in real time, I'm taking the chicken wire ribbon and I'm kind of pulling it out. I'm kind of making it wider and adjusting some of those little chicken wire holes because they got a little squished, or, you know, I just want them to be more apparent. I want them to be more open. I'm not sure what I was doing, why I decided to pull it open. I just liked it. I liked it, really, Whitney? I just liked it. Here I did a finger wrap bow. I just wrapped it around 4 fingers and then tied it and secured it in the middle. Now all that is also the strands that I pulled off of that burlap ribbon when we cut it. So I haven't used anything extra. I've used, you know, the pieces that came off the project. I love recycling too, and I love it when it works out. But I did just wrap those around my fingers and then wrap another one in the middle and cinch it. So now we're going to fill this little pretty girl up. This is leftover styrofoam from my last video, so I didn't have to cut it into anything. So the static did not, you know, make my eye twitch or send me, you know, into counseling because that stuff gets everywhere. And this here is just a block from Dollar Tree. I'm cutting the green styrofoam in half, but it doesn't quite fit 100%. And I want it to have equal, I want it to be in each corner. So to be able to fit past those paint sticks that we have on the inside of supports, I had to cut just a couple slivers off on each side. Now I'm gluing these to each other because they need support. I wasn't going to fill up this whole thing with styrofoam because that would be a waste. So I got enough of of styrofoam on the left and right side made me happy. So I'm going to fill the top with Spanish moss. I get that at Hobby Lobby. I love the color. And now this is various picks of greenery from Dollar Tree. I've got 2 Dollar Tree picks in here. One is eucalyptus and one is I don't know, I think it just said greenery. And then I have just a tiny one of my Amazon picks that you'll find in my Amazon store, greenery. So I've used 2 Dollar Tree picks and 1 Amazon pick. So this is only 3 picks of greenery here. And we're just kind of spreading it out. And now this is also a Dollar Tree bundle of white flowers. I've used 2 of these or 3 of these. I can't remember. Now they're already cut because I had some problems earlier. And I ended up having to take it all out to put the styrofoam in differently because I needed that green styrofoam to be able to poke our stuff through. So with the white flowers, the Dollar Tree flowers, I wasn't exactly happy with them, but they look so pretty once you mix them in with other things. And then I said, let me go grab my orange tulips from Michael's. I grabbed 2 bundles, but I only tucked 1 bundle in. So I believe on 1 bundle, you get 6 little picks off of it if you cut all the flowers off of those Michael's tulips. And look how pretty it looks once you just mix it in. I couldn't be happier how it completely changed those Dollar Tree flowers. Now, there's a lot of times I don't like Dollar Tree flowers. I will get greenery from Dollar Tree. I will get the little, styrofoam ball things, any of those little foxtail type looking deals. But their florals, I've not really been a big fan of. And I forget why I purchased these white ones. I have some orange ones too. But it completely changes it. Once you spread them out and you add them to different items, look how great that is. And that's only 1 little bundle of Michael's tulips. So you got a small investment in the tulips. If you bought them at retail, they're $3.99 each, but I got them on sale. And look how pretty and springy that looks. And of course, we can change her out for all the seasons and nothing. I did not glue any of the flowers in. It's great. And of course, the styrofoam you can always exchange once it gets a little bit, too many holes in it. So you guys tell me what you think. Now, our next DIY here. This is a little ceramic dish dealy thing I got at Dollar Tree in the Crafter Square section. They got different shapes and stuff. I bought this rectangle. I like the fact that it had a picture frame stand on the back of it. And so you could do lots with this, with rub-on transfers, with paints, with anything. So my idea here was, you see the 2 little orange guys right here. Now, I already went through to see if what I wanted to try was possible. And it is, with 100 million steps involved. But I will show you painstakingly what I did. So these ornaments here, my Dollar Tree still has their Valentine's out, and they ended up putting a lot of it out a little bit late. But these came from here. So with some cutting and sanding, we can turn 1 heart into 2 carrots. So this is my idea. I decided to take the heart. So this is one of the larger pots. These are wooden hearts. It's 3 kinds. There's pink, red, and then natural. So pick whichever one you want. So I'm just scoring it down the middle a few times. So I'm making my first cut. So that's the inside of our carrot. So I see carrots, right? So now what I'm going to do is clip it a little bit, clean it up on the middle, but I want to get rid of this curve right here. See, obviously the side of the heart is curved. So I'm just using my, their wire snippers or whatever you want to call them, the wire cutters there. And I'm cutting off the edge, and this is a 60 grit sandpaper sanding block. And I'm just rubbing the side of it on there because I want to get rid of the curved edge. And I'll show you here the difference. So now on the right is the curved edge of the heart, and on the left is our new little carrot. Or you could say it even looks like an ice cream cone, but you want to get straight sides on it is what you're looking for. The straight edges so that it looks more like a carrot and not like a heart that you cut in half. You know what I'm saying? We want it to look not like what it's supposed to be, or what it was, not what it's. We want it to look the way it's supposed to be, Whitney. Jeez. So here's some just regular acrylic, Craftsmart acrylic paint in the color orange, very appropriate. And I painted both sides because I wasn't sure. My original idea was I was going to put these in like a little stack of 3 and then have one off to the side. But I ended up just gluing them down in a straight little line. So you actually don't have to paint both sides if you don't want. I ended up doing that because I didn't know what my plan was in the beginning. So give this a good couple coats on each side. I was covering up the pink paint and let that dry. Now, we're going to decorate these. Now, I'm showing you my first little go at it. I'm putting a piece of masking tape down with the sticky side up. So you see I fold over the edges on itself, and then you kind of push them away from each other with your fingers, and it keeps a tight little fit. That's a good way to stick things down so you can paint on them. Now, my first try here, I used a green color, and I used a sponge brush, just the corner of it, to add little edges to it. What I'm trying to do is put like the little, markings of a carrot, like the little seams or the veins or whatever you want to call it of a carrot. And what I didn't like was that it ended up looking like a zebra instead of a carrot. It looked like a zebra to me, and I wasn't happy with it. So I just kept using the sponge brush and seeing if maybe the antique wax would help cover it, and it wasn't. That first one right there on the left, there's way too many of them on there, Whitney. I don't know what I was thinking. So I'm drying it, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, no, I am not happy. I'm very critical today. So I took my baby wipe, and I wiped off as much as I could. Ended up wiping off some of the orange paint, too, so you can see the pink popping through there. So what we did, cut to, put a coat of orange back on there, and this time I'm going to use my flat edge paintbrush. It's the same brush I used to paint them orange. So now I'm only taking the Waverly Antique Wax and I'm just tapping it off the edge. So I'm going onto the side and taking it off each side to the edge. And I'm much happier with these. And I'm only putting 4 on each carrot. These are tiny little carrots. And sometimes, you guys, I get caught up in the details. Like there's things like maybe during, if you guys are here, you remember during the fall, I took them little tiny styrofoam pumpkins and I put way too much time and effort into painting them so detailed. But, you know, do what makes you happy, because I really wanted them to have something else other than just being a plain orange carrot. Now again, it's a tiny detail on a tiny little plate. So I'm going to use my Waverly Cashew because it matches closer to the color of the ceramic dish we're going to use. That's why I didn't use white. So that's why I was just showing you here. I grabbed the cashew color. So use a cream color or something. I just try to make the colors blend better together. And I'm dry brushing it, getting the edges to pop a little bit more. Just giving it another texture, another dimension. That way it doesn't look so flat. And they're all dry and I think they look good. I'm like, okay, I hope this comes together. So now it's greenery time. I'm showing you options. This was a bush of roses I got at Dollar Tree, and I felt like these little long green stems off of them looked good. Then I was like, well, maybe this one. This is from Michael's. This was purchased from Michael's. It was just a really big bundle. I've used a lot from it. But I thought this little green guy here looks like something that would stick off of a carrot. I'm looking for stuff that looks more realistic. What I'm going to do is use these here because they were in my junk bucket. Don't know if that's accurate or not. It's a darker green color, but I felt like they looked cute. So I know carrots have longer stems, and just find some stuff in your everyday, you know, in your junk buckets and in your stashes and stuff, and just apply. And don't even, you have to use green. You could use anything. Use some raffia, use some more moss, use something. So now this is also a little piece of burlap pulled off of a burlap ribbon. This is one of the strands you pull out when you're fraying it. And I made the world's teeniest little shoelace bow. So I just tied shoelace bows. I'm using a little bit of that hot glue. And again, that's that fixie hot glue. It's very sticky. I love it. And I'm just going to do that and put one of those little tiny shoelace bows at the very top. And that's all it is. Very thin little shoelace bow. And here are all 4 of these girls done. Well, they're not done completely because I end up adding a couple more little leaves, but I'll show you. You'll see that in a second. So I like the placement. I like how they look. And right here is where I figured out, you know what? They look great if I just line them all 4 next to each other. So apply as you see. Now, again, this woodworking glue is very sticky, and it worked very well. And these carrots are not coming off of this ceramic dish. I did this a couple days ago from recording this. As you can hear, my voice is a little bit off. I've been a little bit under the weather, which is why my video's late, and I'm sorry. I love you guys, but I'm going to get it out. I promise. I have this out. It will be out today. You don't know what day it is, but it's today. I promise you. So I glued them all down with that fixie hot glue. And here's where I'm adding an extra little leaf. I felt like I just needed to put a little bit more somewhere. I don't know why. I can't leave well enough alone when it comes to greenery, you know? I just got to keep adding stuff. Actually, I think it's because those 2 pieces were still sitting on my desktop and I didn't want them in the junk bucket. They'd get lost. And now I'm going to make it look like they're being, you know, like they're growing out of the ground. So just to take a little chunk of some Spanish moss, and I glued it to the bottom of our little dish. And again, that woodworking hot glue worked really well on the ceramic, on the coated the glaze on that ceramic. Nothing came off. Nothing is falling off. Nothing popped off. It was great. Now I could tell you my regular hot glue. See here, I'm tugging on it. But again, this was a couple days ago that I actually made it, as opposed to me recording this today. And they're solid. So that's a good hot glue in my opinion. And again, I've used it for other projects, but I'll let you know going forward. So far, so good. It's in my Amazon shop. Should you want to try it out, I have had success with using it. But look how cute they are. They look like they're growing out of the ground. And it's the way that little dish stands up. It's so great. Now, also, this was way more work than it needed to be, because you can actually buy little wooden carrots from Dollar Tree and just paint them. But Why would you do that? So now our last project for this video is just a cute little hanging sign. Now I've got some craft wood from Dollar Tree. I have two here, but ignore that. You only need one for this project because of the size I ended up making it. And now this is a drop cloth that I got off of Amazon. I've seen so many drop cloth crafts. Say that 10 times straight. And I wanted to do a couple things. So I bought a drop cloth off of Amazon. It's in my Amazon store. Now I'm going to use these Iron Orchid Designs rub-on transfers. It's from Painterly Florals. I used this in my last video as well. We're going to go back to the lavender. For me, lavender is very springy. It's also very fall. It looks good with sunflowers. It looks good all the time. I just wanted to do something with greens and purples because we got a lot of orange going on. I like purples with orange and purples with yellows. To me, any flower, any time of year makes me happy. I mean, I would do calla lilies. I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm not really a seasonal person per se. So I actually don't know if lavender is a spring flower or not. If you guys do, feel free to join in and chime in on any type of botany knowledge you may have in the comments because I love that stuff. So what I'll do here is I cut a few of the lavender pieces off of that transfer book set. By the way, I get all of my IOD products from miltonsdaughter.com. Lori is a wonderful person. If you want to order some of the same stuff you see me using from her, her website link is in my description below. And you can use Whatnots 10 for 10% off IOD products for your first time purchase. And then she has a wonderful incentive program for repeat business. It's a great place to get your IOD products. But anyways, I wanted to make a little hanging tapestry type deal. So I basically took the transfers I wanted to use for my book. I laid them on the drop cloth and I basically cut around the drop cloth. Now I tried to iron it because it had some wrinkles in it. This wrinkle right here, no, she wasn't going anywhere. She decided that was her new home and she was going to stay with me. So it is what it is. We will continue to move on. So now I want to place my transfers fairly decently in the middle because we're going to put wood above and below. With transfers, these rub-on transfers, I've never used them on a fabric before, but I have seen other people do it many times, so I know that it's possible. These IOD transfers are very sticky on the back of them. They adhere very well to fabrics. I had absolutely no problems with any of them transferring over. And then here you take your clear sheet off the front and you rub over your transfer. That's called burnishing. It's like another little added benefit of making sure that the transfer is actually really secure and down. So you're just smoothing over the top of it, making sure that she's down all the way and no pieces are coming off. And here's my third one. I just kind of made a little grouping of, it really didn't have any rhyme or reason. They're not evenly placed. They're not the same height. I like the randomness of it. So, I mean, as random as you can say it is, it's all the same product. They're all three pieces are lavender, but I wanted it to be kind of like, it just looks like some lavender. And then look how pretty that is on its own. Oh, it's so pretty on its own. Put some, punch some holes in the top and just hang that with some jute cord. You don't have to do all the stuff I'm about to do, but even then this was pretty simple and fast at least for me. So here I'm just kind of measuring the amount of space I want on each side. None of this stuff was actually measured like 100%. This is 6 inches. This is 2 inches. This is 4. It's just, I marked it and I used my miter box. I got this at my local my local hardware store. You can get them on Amazon should you need to. So I'm just kind of basically cutting a piece long enough because we're going to wrap some jute twine around the edges at the top of the wood. But first we're going to take our antique wax and a baby wipe. And I'm telling you, the baby wipe is my favorite way to apply this antique wax. It literally just smooths it out for you. And I really feel like I'm not wasting a lot of wax. And it's also not applying very thick amounts in one spot that you have to spread out. But look how perfect that looks. Also, I'm going to end up taking I don't dry brush it. Be proud of me, guys. I do not do any dry brushing. And here you see I just kind of lined it up a little bit, flipped it up, put some hot glue down. Now I'm using a staple gun, and then I'm going to come at it with some craft tape just in case. That's just to cover up. The craft tape is just to make it look nicer so you don't see the staples. But these things aren't coming apart because I used the Fixie hot glue, then I used the staple gun, and I'm using the craft tape. And then I'm brayering it. My brayer came apart. That's just to rub it down. You just push it down further. But do you see how nice that looks? It almost looks like a professionally framed picture. That's why I love using that craft tape. It kind of it'll hide any of your oopsies. It's kind of a good thing. It is. If you don't like the way it looks, put craft tape on it. It's like, you don't like that? What's wrong? Use Windex. You have a problem? Use some Windex. I'm going to do the same thing for the top, but I want to kind of make sure that my edges are at least even as much as I can. So I'm using the other piece of wood to just kind of line it up. And again, just put a line of that hot glue at the top, and then way too many staples for the size of the project. And then here what I did was I had a little bit of problems cutting the tape before, so I'm going to use the backing from our rub-on transfer, because obviously it's like a sticker backing, and I used my rotary cutter and it pulled the tape off perfectly, so I have a really nice straight line, which also made me happy because neatness is a thing with me. So then my backs are great, and I realized I need to distress this somehow, so I just took my hand sander to it and distressed it just enough. No painting, no dry brushing, but I did distress it with a sanding block. So now I'm showing you here. You need to kind of decide which way you want your hanger to hang should you do this same technique. So I'm showing you how I'm starting. I'm starting with pulling the cord towards the top and then securing it with glue after I wrap it around a few times. So you'll see my hanger, my jute twine, is coming up from the back and then going down from the back on the opposite side. And I'm hoping that makes sense for how I'm saying it. If not, you can take a peek and just watch this a few times, but you'll see what I mean. You don't want the piece that you're going to be hanging it by to come from the front on one side and the back on the other, because it'll hang crooked. Even if you're hanging it up against a wall, it might stick out on one side. So, and then all I did was take my jute twine, it's black, I get it on Amazon, and I just kind of wrapped that around the edges at the bottom too, just to make it match. I was really struggling with maybe using some IOD stamps that say lavender or spring or hello or happy, super terrific, joy, whatever. But I was like, no, Whitney, leave her alone, let her be. I did take some hairspray and I hairsprayed over the transfer just to see if it maybe needed something else. I wasn't sure if maybe if it was rainy or humidity might get to it, but it doesn't really need any kind of sealing. And that's really about it. This was really fast for me. This was a very fast project. I usually don't do projects this quickly, but again, this was a fast project. And again, you can add ribbon to the top. You could put some bows on it, some florals on it. But I really wanted to just leave her this way. I think it looks great the way it is. And this looks great hanging on your door. It actually looks great hanging on a door handle. I had mine on the door handle in my pantry before I came out to my garage to take these pictures. Now I have that twisted around the top of a wreath hanger because it was too long for any of the hangers that I had. So that's just my creative ability to get that to hang on that piece for our pictures here. But hang that on a wire, hang it on a nail, and she's pretty. I actually really like it on the door handle too. It's just long enough that it's not intrusive and it's just pretty enough. Now it's going to jostle around, but I tell people that's a door, that's decoration, don't go in there. But here's the projects, guys. That's it for today's video. I love how they turned out. I threw these carrots in. Now everyone's going to say that's Easter. Well, my next couple of videos are going to be our Easter. We're going to jump in head first into my Easter bucket and we'll see what's coming because I got some good stuff from Dollar Tree this past week. But you guys tell me what you think of these projects. There was a lot of little steps, and again, I feel like the video kind of ran a little bit long, but you guys have told me many times over that you don't have a problem so far with any of it, that you like the timing. You guys let me know if you have suggestions, if you have ideas, if there's things you want to see or ideas that maybe you want to explore, let me know. Put them in the comments and we will try them. I'm looking always for ideas for videos. Because sometimes you guys, the crafting, the craft path in the upstairs in the thoughts where the whatnots happen, sometimes it's a little rusty. I need someone to hold my hand. Hold my hand, you guys. So thank you guys so much for everything you do. I have a coffee page. So many of you have donated. I appreciate it. If you like my videos and you've learned anything from me and you feel so inclined, please buy me a coffee. It helps my channel and helps me keep going. But if you can't, obviously that's okay. Do the YouTube-y things. Just say hi in the comments. Let me know you're here. Tells YouTube that you like me, and then we keep going. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I love you more than I can possibly say in words. Many hugs, happy crafting, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye for now.